Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year to everyone. May 2021 be a blessed year for all. Today I wanted to share with you a recipe that I grew up with that my mom and my sister made. It's homemade soup, and you need 2 onions, and I like to use the Vidalia onions, 1 bunch of parsley, and then 3 bunches of green onions, and I use the green part, and 2 tablespoons or so of butter, so that way you can cook this down until it's translucent. At least the onions are translucent. Now this makes a large pot of soup, but you can adjust the ingredients for the size family that you have. But I use 3 pounds of carrots, and I just slice those up, and about 10 to 12 sticks of celery, and 2 medium or small turnips cut into cubes, and about 1 to 2 heads of cabbage. You need 1 stick of butter, and you're going to need some flour, and we're sort of making a roux just to thicken up the soup. And this is the spoon that I use, so that's about how much flour you will need. And I use 2 cans of tomato sauce and some angel hair pasta, but you're not going to use this whole pack. I just use just a little bit of it. That helps to thicken up the soup also. Now melt your butter and your flour together. You'll notice that it'll start to thicken up just a little bit, and that's kind of the consistency you want, almost like pancake batter. Then add all of your seasoning as far as the onions, the parsley, and the green onions. Add that to the flour and just stir it up really well. Start adding your vegetables, and I start with the carrots, then I'll add the celery, and then the turnips. I also use 2 pounds of stew meat. I cook this in the Instant Pot, and then I'll add it to the soup later. Now stir everything up really well. You want to incorporate all the onions and all that seasoning that you chopped up throughout all of those vegetables. Now add the 2 cans of tomato sauce, and then you want to mix that up really well. Then I cubed up some red potatoes, and I used about 5 to 6, I believe. And I just peeled them and then put those in. You want to stir that up really well. Now I will add salt and pepper to this, and that's the only other seasoning I add. And you want to do that throughout the dish. As I add things to it, I continue to add a little bit of salt and pepper, because those potatoes will soak that up. And just add a little bit at a time. As you go, you could taste it later just to see if you've gotten it seasoned enough. And then I use the broth that's from the stew meat, and I add that to the pot. I prefer to add the broth from that instead of water. I just feel like it gives it a much better taste and flavor. And just stir that up really well, and then layer it again with some salt and a little bit of pepper. Now put the lid on your pot, and then you will occasionally stir this, but you want to cook this for a couple of hours, and you want the vegetables to get tender, and then you're going to add, I don't like to add the meat right away. I add it in after the vegetables get a little bit tender. Then add your stew meat. I just don't want it to be all shredded. I want it to sort of stay intact. And just stir that up really well. Now I start to add the cabbage, because the cabbage I put in last, sort of at the end, because it doesn't take long for this to cook, and I didn't want it to basically be cooked into nothing if I would have cooked it for several hours. So I put it in at the end, and I just keep adding until I feel like I have enough in there. So you may or may not use all of the cabbage that you have. Just judge on how much you'd like to have in it. Now I take just a little bit of the angel hair, and I will break those into pieces, and I just sprinkle that onto the soup, and then I'll stir that in. I don't use a lot of it, and it just helps to thicken up the soup just a little bit. It adds a little bit more heartiness to the soup. And like I said, it can also be a stew. We were just brought up with it being a soup, but you can also add more broth to it to thin it out if you'd like. But once it's done, this is what it looks like, and it is very hearty. It's a really great meal for those cold winter days, which we're going to be having. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like it, please click that subscribe button and the notification bell, and that will notify you when I post new videos. I hope everyone has a blessed day and a great year. Thanks again for watching.